Okay guys, so I have the RP right here. Now this is assuming for you this is a brand new camera straight out of the box. Now the first thing you're going to do is you're always going to set like the date and time and things like that. We're not going to be talking about that because those are easy. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about one of the best features of the RP is that it's super customizable. See all these buttons around here. Here you can actually customize each one to suit how you do it. We're going to be talking about how we customize each button and how I set it personally. Now this is going to be how it comes for you straight out of the box. Now, as you can see, there are two settings. So what's great about the RP and the R as well is that you can have separate settings for your video and your photo. So for example, if let's say you're shooting photos in one of these and then you switch to this one here, the video function, you can have completely separate customized buttons depending on how you set it. We're not going to be doing video today because you can literally apply the same methodology on how I change everything here in photo settings into the video side. So if you click into any one of the menu options, it'll give you different options. Now depending on which button you're choosing, they'll give you different options comparing which. So for example, if let's say we use this multifunction button, we see that we have more options which you can switch to yourself. So the first one is I always leave it on. This corresponds to this button. When you half press, take a shutter, that's the normal one. So just leave it on there. The next one is the movie record button, which is up here. I just leave it in case I need to take a quick clip. Now the first one is, now this will look exactly how you have it onto your camera. And what I like to do is I like to change this manual multifunction, which is the button up here, to IAF. So the one thing about the RP is that it has eye detection, which is a much more accurate version of face detect, but it can slow down your camera a bit and it's not accurate when you're far away from your subject. So when I'm close and when I'm doing a headshot, I want the eyes to be in focus. I can easily just press this multifunction button, turn on IAF. Once I'm done with the shot, I press it back and disable it and I can continue as normal. So that's what I have. Now this AE lock button, I don't really have much need for AE or FE lock. So what I do is I change that to ISO. Now unfortunately for the RP, because it is a much more affordable camera, there is no dedicated ISO button. So what you have to do is you usually have to go into the menu system and touch screen. Although while that's good for majority of cases, but for sometimes you want to be quick, it doesn't really work out. So what I do is when I set that ISO button, I can actually press it and I can turn, and when I press it and turn the dial, my ISO changes. And that just makes it faster because it's a button and I don't have to press multiple times onto the screen. So these D-pad up, so you have 4 directions here, up, down, left, right. So what you can do is you can actually customize each direction to what you want to do. So for the first thing, what I always do for the top is I want to have the option to switch between my viewfinder, electronic viewfinder, and the screen manually. You can do this automatically by putting your eye against the sensor, but sometimes you want it to be manual, so you just put that. So what happens is that once I press up, see, it goes into the screen, if you can see that. And then if I press up again, it goes back to that. So that just makes it quicker in case I want to switch in between, and sometimes you do. For the left side, what I do is I actually have it for pause movie AF servo. Or basically, so essentially what happens is with dual pixel autofocus, it's really good for tracking, but at times you don't want it to track. So what I do is if I press this here, it stops tracking, and when I want it to continue again, I just press again. It sounds a bit counterintuitive, but when you're using or when you're shooting in certain situations, you don't want the focus to always be changing, and that's where you can control whether your AF starts or stops. This one is one of my favorites. So one of the best functions in the new R cameras is what we call FV. I'll do a completely separate video about it, but FV stands for flexible priority. So essentially what this does is that when I put it to auto, when I'm on FV and I'm shooting, let's say on FV I want my everything's now on auto. So but I want to change this. I want it to make just quickly do an aperture change. And then once I'm done, what I can do is I can quickly shoot that, and now it's back on auto. If I want to do the same thing for here, okay, it's manual already. I'm manually controlling my shutter speed. I got my shot, press, it's auto back again. So this just makes it faster for me to shoot when I'm just shooting around. Especially whenever I'm shooting with the new R cameras, I'm mostly on FV because it just allows me to be flexible in choosing exactly which of the 3 parameters I want to be auto at that specific time. Same thing with ISO. If my ISO is like, let's say 200, got my shot already. Once I'm on the ISO ring, ISO setting, press, it's auto already. So if you can see, that one line shows that it's auto. And the last one really doesn't matter. I usually just leave this off because I have no need. I have no real need for it. But if you wanted to, what I tend to put is I just put it on display off. Now this is very important because this camera doesn't have the best battery life. So when I'm not shooting, I just display is shutting down. So it just saves and conserves battery. And put it back up and it's out. Yes. So let's see, in the last one, leave it, that's normal. So the last thing I want to do is I want to change, there is this thing called positioning method, either absolute or relative. When you're looking through the viewfinder, you can actually do this, you can actually just touch and drag your AF point. Now if your settings is on absolute, regardless of where you touch, the focus point is going to be there. And the one thing you want to avoid this, and the reason why you want to avoid this, is because when you are shooting, and because I set my touch and drag settings to the bottom right, so I can control my focus points around here. But when your settings are, when this is on absolute, if your focus point is, you want to move your focus point there, and you touch here, it suddenly presses here. You know, your point is going to start here, and you don't want that because you want it to be quick. You want it to be over there, but to move your focusing point is always at the bottom right side. So what I do is I always make sure that this is on relative. That way, when I'm inside, I can actually, my focus point will already be there and I can control it from here. It's a bit hard to explain because you need to see it through the EVF, but trust me, do some of your own tests between absolute and relative and you'll see the difference. So I hope this helped you with learning how to customize your RP to different ways. Now there are more different functions that you can check out. This is just the way I do it because it helps me in the way I shoot. This is not for you to say that, oh, this is how you should do it, but this is more for educating and showing how you can make this camera yours. So thank you so much for watching. Leave me a question or leave me a comment if any questions, and I will see you in the next video with the RP.